dye blocks now. Let's look at dye blocks and how to use them and what they are. So basically, they just come like in a little package usually, and it says shave till desired color is reached. So they're made of paraffin wax. So if you are wanting to do a pure soy blend candle or wax melts in this case without any paraffin in it, then you probably wouldn't want to use dye blocks, but I just want to show you what they are anyways. They're basically concentrated blocks of wax, and they're very hard. So what you do with them is you just take a butter knife and have one that's always for your creating, and just put a piece of paper towel down, and you're going to want to take the knife and just start at a corner or an edge and start scraping off thin pieces of wax off the color block to create a color. Now the next fragrance that I'm going to be using and demonstrating how to use these dye blocks with is called Angel. So I have it already poured out and my wax is melting currently, and I am going to now put this dye blocks shavings into the bottom of the containers and show you how it works. So I was thinking with this, what I will do is I will take my containers, and Angel I think of like nice and light and airy and things like that, so that's kind of the look I'm going for with clouds and stuff. So I'm going to take my chips and I'm just going to sprinkle them into the bottom of this container just like this. And what I'm hoping to get the effect of is the white with little spots of blue within it. So we'll see how that goes, but this is what I'm doing with these dye blocks. Of course, I can sprinkle them directly into the melted wax and just stir them and melt them, but I'm going to try to do this and see what it comes out like. I've got a few more containers and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to sprinkle the shavings into the bottom of the container just at random while I'm waiting for my wax to melt. This is a really good way to have everything prepared and ready to go. You could even go so far as getting your labels made, but that's usually a step that I take at the end after I've known how many I've poured. I have my melted wax now. It is 76 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to add my fragrance oil to it. Give it a good stir, and then I'm going to pour it into my wax melt containers right away, because I want the wax to be warm enough that I'm going to melt the wax chips. So give it a good stir. Wipe off your spoon. It's ready for next time. It's about 70. All right, let's pour this. I'm zooming in now so you can see what happens with the dye chips. Pour this right away, and I'm going to pour it all along the dye chips. It's not like the mica this time, how I had, make sure you have your paper towel ahead of time. It's not like the mica this time where I had the mica and I only poured it along the side. This time I'm going all along, and I want to make sure that all the dye chips are melted there. Let's zoom in again and watch how I do, how I move the wax around. This is just plain wax. Remember, I didn't add any colorant to it. And I'm making sure that I get all the pieces in there, and also watching the edge I don't want to overfill this container. Move my camera a bit, watching how I am moving the container of wax around and the sides and the middle, trying to hit those extra large pieces that have just made their way in there. And look how it disperses. That is going to look so neat. I can't wait to see it when it's dry. And luckily for you, that will be right now. Two things to note is with the dye blocks is if you have extras, just kind of funnel them into the paper towel and pour them back into the bag to use again for another time. There's no need to waste them when you've got a little bag that you can store them in. The second thing is if you have some chunks that may not be melted, I don't recommend using your heat gun, because if you do, you can totally warp or completely melt the packages, because remember, this is just a thin plastic. So instead, make sure that your wax is pouring about between, what did I pour mine at? 70 to 80. Definitely pour it at that. You need to make sure that you pour it hot, and then you'll be able to melt the wax chips successfly. This is what the wax melts are looking like halfway through cooling. They're looking really awesome. And in just a moment, you'll get to see what they look like when they're totally cool, and we can flip them over and look at the back side. Okay, here are the wax melts that when they're cool now. And what's really interesting about these is this is the first one we poured, and then we poured in a succession like this. Whereas the last one, it got these holes in it where the dye chips didn't quite melt. So the bottom of this one, you can see it's just kind of like a nice light blue. And then as we progress up, you can see the intensity changing. So temperature plays a big key when you're melting these. This one was far too cool when it was poured, and it made these divots where the wax melt chips did not melt. And you can see them on the bottom here as well, the chips that didn't melt. So you'll have to pour it at just the right temperature and experiment with your dye chips, because all dye chips are going to be different. And you're going to have to see for yourself how to get the desired effect. I think this one and this one, they're quite good. I quite like how they came out. Turned out really nicely. There you go.